Mesech the Avoda zara daf lamed zayin amar halaf. We're starting from lamed vav, but base 8 lines to the bottom, starting from the words my. In fact, the Gemara my al davach mishum davach. What did Avoda mean when he said that they also decreed or they made a zera regarding something else, meaning a completely different inyan on the account of something else, which is an additional zera? Says the Gemara, the pshat is, Rav Nachman said the Kabbalah is that there were geyser on goy, a young boy, that he should be considered as tumah zav, which is ava tumah, which is a liquid that it comes out of the body. Even though this child didn't have any emission, nevertheless he'll be considered as a zav. Why? Because of davacha, meaning shalayahei tinik, nothing to do with the tumah of ziva, only shalayahei tinik yisol ragalatzloi, so that a Jewish boy shouldn't associate frequently with this goy b'mishkav zacha for the purpose of sodomy. Rabbi Zayda said that I had great pains in bringing the following question before Rabasi, which I asked him many times and he didn't answer. Rabasi ate Rabbi Yechnan, and Rabasi brought to Rabbi Yechnan, Rabbi Yechnan ate Rabbi Yani, and Rabbi Yechnan brought to Rabbi Yan, Rabbi Yan ate Rabbi Nosman Amram. Rabbi Nosman Amram brought it ate Rabbi. Tinek oivt kechamei masim etame betumaziva. A boy, a young boy, from what age does he contract the tumah of ziva? Does he have the din of tumah ziva? Amali, and he answered. Rabbi answered from Ben Yemer, from a day old. When I came to Rabbi Chia, Amali, Rabbi Chia said to me, he's metam beziva from Ben Tesha Shanim, from 9 years old, and the Yom Echad, 9 complete years and 1 day. And when I came and presented this din of Rabbi, this din to Rabbi, so Rabbi said, leave my view alone, meaning I retract, and say like Rabbi Chia, and passing like Rabbi Chia, that it's from 9 days, 9 full years and 1 day. So the Gemara, and the reason is, why this age? Because since at this age he's capable of cohabitating. So therefore, the ziva is contracted from that day on. The Avina said, regarding a 3-year-old girl, since she's capable of cohabitation at 3 years, so and 3 years and 1 day, so at that age she's also metama, and she has the tumah ziva on herself. In fact, you might have pshita, it's obvious. If the gzeira by a boy was considered the tumah was based on when he has the ability to cohabit, so too by a girl, and that's from 3 years and 1 day. And you want to know, the time I would have thought, this 9-year-old boy knows how to draw somebody to come and sin. But where this 3-year-old girl doesn't know how to, doesn't know the conniving ways of how to attract someone to come to sin. Kamashman comes the Gemara and teaches us that even though she's only a 3-year-old and 1 day and doesn't have the skills of bringing another person to sin, she's still in the state of tumah ziva. Zog the Gemara, Mr. B'chviyas, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya Kasir, Rabbi Simla Shamoy. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was leaning on the shoulder of his shamish Rabbi Simloi while going on the way. Amaloi, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya said to him, Simloi, Lo Yahis Hamish Beveis Hamish Kishi Tarnu Es Hashemen. You were not in the base medesh yesterday when we were mated the oil of a guy. Amaloi, so Rabbi Simloi said to him, B'yameinu tatafas hapas. And nowadays, you should even be matter the pas of a guy in pasakum, because it's a gzera that not everybody can abide by. Amalais, have you said you're right, but in Cain, if we were going to be matter also pasakum, karila lon bezdin hashaya. So then they would call us a permitting court, and we would be disparaged for being so lenient. And why why would they matter shemen over pas? Because by pas there's more of a chance because of the gzeda of chasnas, because everybody pas is needed all the time, and since it's needed all the time, so you can come by pasakim there. You can come to intermarry, but oil is lav davka noshim. That's number one. By pas, it's usually women who are baking it, and shemen it's not always noshim, and it's not always it's not as attractive as to a party as by passes. The dam, for we learned in the Mishnah, hey, Rabbi Yosef ben Yazi said al ayol kamsa. Now he's going to tell you that it's disparaged. They'll be disparaged if there'll be 3 dinim that they paskin leheta. They will call them a that's mater. So Rabbi Yosef ben Yazid, he said that testified about ayol kamsa, ayol, which is a type of a grasshopper. And dachan, that it's going to be tired. Mashka based mit bechai. The Gemara is going to go through this inyan. Mashka based mit bechai, and he also testified concerning the liquids or the drinks or the mashka, the beverages of the butchering place in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara says over there that in the butcher place, being in the Azav of Beis Hamikdash, that the dachan, that it should not be mekabel tuma, and the Gemara is going to explain on that what it means. And one who touches a mace that he's tummy, and as I saw, they called Yosef for being matter. These 3 dinim, the Yosef are matter. So from this Mishnah we see so that that Yosef ben Ye'ezer didn't want to be Mekel anymore because he was afraid that he would be called a bezdin that's mater, and that's why he didn't want to be mater the pasakum. Amalei, so Rabbi Shimlai says, what kind of a comparison? He said back to Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya Hasam over there by Yosef ben Ye'ezer Sharet Los. He was mater three things like you just mentioned. And in such a case, Umash, they called him bezdin that's mater, bezdin that's lenient. Umar, but you, Sharachada, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, you only were matter one thing, the shemen of a guy. And if you're going to be matter one more thing, you still only were matter 2, so you're not similar to the case of Yosef. So the Gemara Amalei, so Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said to Rabbi Shimlai, I was already matter besides the shemen another item, and if I would have been matter the pas, it would have been 3. So the Gemara Maihi, what is this extra item? So the Gemara that we learned the Mishnah in Gittin, the one who goes on a journey and he gives a get to his wife and he says to her, it wasn't written the get, but he just says to her, if I don't return from today, till 12 months, and the Baal died, he died within the 12 months, ain't a get. It's not a get. Why? Because he didn't say that the get should be chal from now. From the implication of his words were that the get should be chal after the t'nai, meaning that he doesn't come after 12 months. And since he died within this man, so the get had to be chal after Misa. And a get is not chal lacha Misa. So therefore, if the Baal didn't leave any children, then the woman would be mechuyev to marry the brother of her husband to be mekayim the mitzvah of yibum or chalitza. And we learned from this brayso when we get to this case. Rabbi Seinu hitiru linasei that Rabbi Seinu was going on Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya that he was mater her to go ahead and marry without doing yivum. And the reason for it is because he considered the date in the get as being written meyasha from now. Because if in the get was written meyasha, if I don't come from now till 12 months, then the halacha would be that the get was retroactively. It was considered as a get given mechayim from his lifetime. The only reason why here it's not going to be considered as a get, because he didn't say me'asha from now that it should work retroactively. So the get is only chal after misa, and a get cannot be chal after misa. And especially, he said the condition was after 12 months. But after 12 months, it is that he had to be bechaim, and after 12 months, and he died before the 12 months, and there's no get achamisa. Rabbi Seinu, who's Rabbi Seinu? Rabbi Yehuda Mashmo, Beidina, the Sharu Mishcha. It's the best, meaning the best of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, who's mater the oil of a guy. Savilei, they held Rabbi Yossi. The date of the star proves that the get was mechayim, is considered as mayashav, and therefore in our case, since in the get was written a date, even though the Baal said im loy basi if I don't come, and he didn't say mayashav, he didn't say from now if I don't come, but it's muchich that his kavanah was that the get should be chal from the date that was written in the star. That was the kavanah, and therefore it's as if he gave the get mechayim, and he doesn't have to do yivin or chalitza if the brother died if her husband died without children. So the Gemara is now explaining that this was the second already heter that Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was matir, that the woman could go ahead and marry without even the chalitza, even though they didn't say the husband didn't say me'ashav, but Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya says the date in the shtar is considered as if it's with me'ashav. And Rabbi Abba said the name Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, meaning which is Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, who was the great grandson, was the grandson of Rabbi, who was Masada Mishnah Haida, Paskin that Aisha should be Mutarsli Nasi, Veloy Haida like Kol Shaitei. But they didn't, none of the but they didn't agree with his psak. That even in his own bezdin they didn't agree with him. So Rabbi Abba, who is the son of Rabbi Chia, argues on the words of Shmuel. He says that according to their words, since they were not, they didn't agree. Again, Rabbi Abba, the son of Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Abba argues on the words of Shmuel. According to them, the Chaver, the people of the Bezdin of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya did agree that a ish is muteres linasei, but according to Rabbi Abba, but Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya and Rabbi Yehuda, I'm sorry, but according to Rabbi Abba, that was according to Shmuel. Rabbi Abba says that Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya himself paskin, but his own bezdin did not agree with him. So once we mentioned the Hira of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya Benegayat his get, so the Gemara brings a new suffix. Amalei Rabbi Elazar lahu Sava. Rabbi Elazar said to this Zaken, who was part of the Bezdin of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, Ki Shirisuha, when you were mated the Sisha to marry and not have to do Yibim, L'alta Shirisuha, were you mated right when he died, even though it was within the 12, it was inside the 12 months, before the 12 months were up? The loy asi, because since for sure the husband is not going to come after the 12 months because he died. Or perhaps that you were martyred only after 12 months. You can't only at that time, after 12 months, is the T'nai being fulfilled. So the Zakin asked Rabbi Lazar, V'tibayalach amas nisan. This shaila you have, you could ask on the following Mishnah. Not that we learned the Mishnah. If somebody said, if a man says to his wife, "Behold, this get is yours from now. If I don't come from now till 12 months, and he died in the 12 months, how we get? We say it's a get because it's mayasha. Though you came late tonight, in this case, the get is kosher. It's not considered as a get lachamisa since he said the word achshav, so he showed that the get should be a get retroactively. So v'tibaylach, there you should ask the same question. Is it a get immediately after he dies? The halay asa, because the husband's for sure not going to come after the 12 months. Or perhaps only lachash nemas a chedesh. Or perhaps it's only after the 12 months will the get bichal. He kindly tonight, because only at that time that night was fulfilled. So why did you ask after the shaila by our case where he didn't even mention Me'ashav? You should have asked from which is not a Mishnah. You should have asked from the Mishnah itself. So Rabbi Lazar answered, Inachanami. Rabbi Lazar answered, you're right. I would have asked from the Mishnah. But El Mishum Dahu, the Havis, Bahu Minyana, but because you were one of the elders of the Bezdin, of the, meaning you were part of the Bezdin of Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya at the time when they voted to be Mata Desisha, so you were there, so you can answer right away from when they were Mata. That's why I asked you, because you were there at the time. Abaya said, Akol made everybody agrees by a person who says to his wife, this is at nighttime, he says, at nighttime to his wife, this get is yours from when the sun comes out of its sheath, meaning when its sun rises. So he had in mind that the get should be chal only when the sun comes out. And therefore, if the Baal died that night, get lachamisahu, it's considered as a get after misa, and it's nothing. It's not a get. Everybody agrees. So too, if he says now he says almanas. When he says the word almanas on the condition that the sun should come out of its sheath, so almanas is not when the get should take an effect. He's just made it tonight, nothing to do from when the get should take an effect. His kavanah was that if the sun comes out of its sheath, that's one of the tanoim, the get should be effective me'asher from now. And the tanai is a side detail, but it had nothing to do when the get should take an effect. And if the husband dies by night, that's not mevatel a get. Avoda havi. The mentioning about the sun coming out of its sheath, when the sun comes out of its sheath, was almanas, was only a tanai, not to take an effect when the get should be chal. So here we see that the get took an effect from when he was alive. Like Ravuna said, almanas, whoever says almanas, it's as if he's saying from now. It's as if he's saying that the get should be effective now on the condition that the t'nai will be fulfilled. But once it's fulfilled, the get is already good, made retroactively. Zak Yomara, Loit Nachlik, or Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya and the other Chacham did not argue with Mikra, only in a case where he says, im teitzei, im. He uses the word im teitzei cham, that if the sun will leave from its sheath. In such a case, he said, he says, behold, this is your get. If I don't come from now till 12 months. So Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, meaning Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, like Rabbi Yosi, holds like Rabbi Yosi. Damas manish ol shtar mechilov. The date of the shtar is attests that it was from now, that it should be retroactively. It's as if he said, from today, if I die, which the mashmais of the lashon is that if he, from now, if he dies, the get should be chalim afreya, meaning from the time that he gave the get. Im teitze, meaning im teitze, if the sun will come out of its sheath, and the same thing, but like he said by im loy basi. So if he says im loy basi, it means meyashim im loy basi with a date on it. Rabbanan less hold Rabbi Yosi, but the Rabbanan do not hold like Rabbi Yosi. According to Vahavalei, the date doesn't make it considered as if it's from now. It's as if it's only written only. He's saying this get is imasi, without adding mehayoin or me'ashav. It's not considered as if he said from today or from now. And it's because of the date. So too, here too, it's not, the get is not going to be chal. According to the Rabbanan. But according to Rabbi Yosi, it will, because the date attests that he meant to say from now or from today's date. Ma'ayoin. Gufa memfig land Hayid Yosi ben Yoyaz Yisrael. Yosi ben Yoyaz Yisrael testified al ayol, which is a type of a grasshopper that's called ayol kamsa. It's called shudach, that it's tar and it's kosher to eat. And the beverages from the shlachtis, from the slaughterhouse, that was in the zara the Beis Hamikdash dachan atahirim, and they're not mekabel tumah. While the yikav lemisa, and one who touches a mace misov, that he's tummy. Mekarelei Yosef Shaya, and as a tetzah, they called him Yosef Hamata, Yosef, the one that permits. In fact, the Gemara, my ayol kamsa. What type of a grasshopper is ayol kamsa? Rapapa shushvina. It's a shushvina. Rabami mishmeidu ulama suzbil. Rapapa shushvina. Rapapa says that the ayol is a shushvina. That's a type of a grasshopper who has a long head. And the machlek is between Yosef ben Yazam and those that argue on him, if a grasshopper with a long head is mutba achila. One holds a long head is asba achila. Ma and Yosef ben Yazam sava reish aruch mutba achila. He holds it's mutba achila. So they're learning from the words that it says, meaning the Torah enumerated 4 types of shratzim, meaning grasshoppers, Abba, Solam, Chagov, Chagov, that they are tahor, and there's a machlekes of Tanoim, Menegei, the Simonim that make it a kosher Chagov. One Tana is Mata, only those Chagovim that are mamish similar to the 4 minim, and Roish, a long head, was not one of them. So therefore, since it wasn't one of them, it's not included in the minim that are mutarim. The other Tana says, no, he says the 4 simonim is 4 feet, 4 wings, 2 jumping legs or 2 spring legs that helps it jump, and that the wings have to cover most of the guf. So therefore, if it has these 4 tchunis, it's kosher. So according to the Tana that holds its aser, holds that because he says he holds it's a klal uprat and ein bechlal elamash befrat, and that's why a long-headed is not going to be good. But the second they that learned Dashan's klal uprat uglal iatadon ela ke'ein haprat, anything similar to the prat. So therefore, even though it's long-headed, but since it's similar, it's going to be kasha. So now we're going to learn the machlekes, how each one learned it. The chachamim that held that Reisha Aruch is aser learned it as a klal prat. Yos ben Yezer, who said Reisha Aruch is mutter, learned it as a klal prat to klal. So it's Gemara, Rav Chiba Mishmei Ulam, that Ayil Kamsa that they were arguing about was suzbil, was a type of a grasshopper that its wings cover most of the goof, meaning, let's say, out of the 100%, it covers 51%. And so it's not visible to the eye, but it was covering most of the goof. So, but he says, so that the argument was benegay to if when it's covering most of the goof and it's not nikar. But Bereishay Aruch, like the Shashvina, everybody agrees that it's going to be Yasa. But Hachan over here, and over here, what are they arguing? Where it's covering 51%, which is not visible to the eye. Mars Sava, Yosi Ben Yezer says that the siman for Tara you need that the wings should cover most of the goof. Ruba Koldo you only need a bit of a rave. Even just 1% over the 50% makes it kashal achila, mutala ba'achila. Masava Ruba the minka binan. But the Chachamim argued and said, no, you need a rave that's nicker. And since it's not nicker, it's only 1% above the 50%, it's asbachila. We learn on the beverages in the shlachtois, in the slaughterhouse. That was in the zara of the Beis Hamikdash, Dachan HaTorah. In fact, you want my Dachan. What is the midah that of the tara of these beverages? Rabbi says what the mashke, the beverages of the slaughterhouse, Dachan HaTorah, mamish, they're not mekabel tuma. Shmuel Dachan milamatama acherim. The Shmuel says no, they are tamei. It means that they don't have mekayach to be metame other things. But they are susceptible to tuma. Rabama Dachan Tahirim. Meaning, Rab says that the beverages are Tahirim mamish, meaning that they're not susceptible to tuma. Kasavad, according to his Yesi Ben Yezer, he says tumas mashkin, even to be makabel, to be susceptible to tuma on itself, he midrabanan is midrabanan. Chi gazer abanan tuma, and when the Chachamim were gezer that mashkin, the beverages should be makabel tuma, but mashkin the alma was only by stam mashkin, regular in the beverages in general. But when it came to the beverages that were in the slaughterhouse in the Azara, the Chacham didn't make a gzeda that it should be susceptible to tuma. Shmulama dachan, it's the that it doesn't have the koyach to be metama others. But to contract tuma on itself, they do. Because according to Yos Ben Yezer, tumas mashkin midaraisa, that beverage to contract tuma is minatera. Just this that has b'koyach latame acherim is midarabanan. V'chi gazer abanan, and when did the abanan make the gzeda that mashkin is metama others b'mashkin the alma by general beverages. But if it's beverages that were in the slaughterhouse in the Azara, the Chachamim did not implement the takana or the gzeda that it should be metama others. And then we said on this third din, they testified that somebody who's negay b'meshis tameh be'karav le'yesu sharya, and there they called him the Yosef, who's lenient and he's mater because of these leniencies. Zog Yimara Yosef Hasan mi b'yalei. It should have said they should have called him a Yosef, who's the one that asers, not Yosef who's mater, because he asered that somebody who touches the mace is tamei. I see this is minatera. The chesiv chol asher yiga al pnei hasoda, and anything that will be any person that will touch in the open field, the halal cherev, in a person who was killed by sword, or the mace, or in a dead body, is tamei. So you have the raisa. So the Gemara explains the words of Yossi. Of Yosef ben Yezer, the raisa minatera the ika tamei. That they gave a mace, somebody who touched the mace itself, that's Mindaraisa. But the Yika B'diyikav. But a person who touched the mace, tar, he says it's tar, is Minatrated, it's tar. So in the goes half the Yika B'diyikav. And the Chacham came and Geza, even a person who touched the mace will become Tameh. I'll say, and Yosef ben Yezer brought it back to the din of the Torah that only the one person who touches the mace is tamei, but a person who touches the mace will not become tamei. So the yikam namidaraisa, who one who touches a person who touched the tamei mace is also tamei minatera. The chesiv chol asher yigabei ha tamei yitma. The pasuk says b'feidish, whoever will touch the person who touched the mace is tamei. And the Gemara Amru Rabbanan Kamed Rabba Mishmei the Mazut B'Rei Rav Nachman. The Chacham answered before the Rabba in the name of Mazut, the son of Rav Nachman, Mishmei Rav Nachman, who they said in the name of Rav Nachman that the Raisa Minat Torah, the Yikam the Yikav B'Chibur, that touching a person who touched the mace, that the person who's touching the mace is going to be tamei only while the person is still touching the mace. And so A is touching the mace. B, the second person, came and, let's say, Reuben is touching the mace. Shimon comes and touches Reuben while Reuben is touching the mace. Only while Reuben is touching the mace does Shimon become tamei. Tumas Shiva. He becomes tamei for 7 days. But what if Reuben is not touching the mace? He touched the mace, but right now he's not. And Shimon touched him. Then Tumas Erev. He only is for 1 day. The day till the evening. Like any Avis Atuma. And the Chacham came and that even though the person only touched the mace, he's not touching him now, and Shimon touches Reuben who had touched the mace from before, and even if it's not, right now he's not touching the mace, Tumas Shiva, the person who touched the mace, it's time for 7 days. Just like we want to say by Chiburim. And Yosei ben Yezer came and he said no, that the person who touched the mace, if he's not touching the mace now, the din will be he's only tamei for that day till the evening. So the Gemara wants to be mevar the marker to this above mentioned din. The Araisa Mahi, what's the marker in Torah to be mechalik, touching a mace while he touching a person who's still touching the mace, and between the Shimon touching Reuven while he's not touching the mace, he only had to touch the mace. Where do we see there's a chili between the two in the Torah? For it says in the pasuk, "Anageba mace l'chol nefesh adam v'tamei shiras yamin." It says somebody who touches a mace of any person is tamei 7 days. And then it says anyone who will touch the one who's tamei will become tamei, meaning a tumah of shivas yamin. And then it talks about the same case of a person who touched somebody who's tamei. He's only going to be tamei till the evening. Okay, so how do we learn these two dinim in the same pasuk, which are contradictory? One pasuk says, if a person, if Shimon touches Reuven, who touched the mace, he's tamei for 7 days. And one pasuk says, if Shimon touched Reuven, who touched the mace, he's only tamei for that day. Okay, so and the Gemara kam b'chiburim. The pasuk that says that if Shimon touched Reuven, that he's tamei, Shimon is going to be tamei for 7 days, is b'chiburim. He touched Reuven while he's still touching the mace. Kan, and the end of the pasuk is talking about where it says he's only going to be tummy for that day. Is shaloi b'chiburon. It's talking about Shimon touched Reuven, while Reuven is not touching the mace. Only in the case where Reuven had touched the mace from before, and now Shimon touched Reuven, that case is only going to be for the day. So you see, the Torah is mechalik between Shimon touching Reuven while he's still touching the mace, which is 7 days. Shimon will be tummy for 7 days, or Shimon touching Reuven, who was a tummy mace, but right now he's not touching the mace, that he's only going to be tummy till the evening. See, so you see from the Torah this chilek. Have I not told you, do not hang empty jugs in the name of Rav Nachman? It has nothing to do with Rav Nachman. These are words which are missing reasoning. Meaning to say, if this was one of the Heterim that Yosei ben Yehoshua did, so he shouldn't have just said one who's negei b'meis becomes tamei. He should have emphasized that he becomes tamei 7 days, and this you would have emphasized in the Kuda that if it's shalei b'chiburim, it's only going to be for 1 day. But he didn't emphasize that, so you can't say that Rav Nachman is agreeing. Rav Nachman's shot was to tell us that that's where Yosef ben Yehoshua was referring to his testimony of Heter. Rather, Rav Nachman said like this: Safik tumi b'shus rabim hitlehem. Yosef ben Yehoshua was matir on Safik tuma b'shus rabim. That somebody who became tumi b'shus rabim, meaning on the negei b'meis is tame. He meant to say somebody. Only if he touched for sure a mace, he's going to be tummy. But somebody who's a suffix and he's in a shusarabim, then he's tar. Because suffix to shusarabim is tar. That's where we could say Yosef ben Yehoshua. That's what Rav Nachman was referring to. Yosef ben Yehoshua was lenient. In fact, this halacha, this halacha we learn out from that suffix to shusarabim is tar from Sinai, from the case of a man warned his wife not to be alone with this person, and she was over and she was over, and she went and she was found alone with this man. It's a suffix if they were mezana. So the dinner is that she's asked to her husband misafik till she drinks the mayim hamarim. This is called Tumah. So just like by the Din Saita, it was said only by Rishus HaYachid, which is considered as a Makim Stira. Only the other Torah said that she would have to drink the Mei Hamarim. Af Tumah Rishus HaYachid. So from there too, we learn out for Safik Tumah Rishus HaRabim that it's Tahir. The only time Safik Tumah will be Tameh is only if it's Rishus HaYachid. So we learn it out from Saita. So the Safik Tumah Rishus HaRabim is min HaTorah. So why is the Mishnah meaning this Mishnah that he brought, like the Hirod, like yes, this is what he wants to say? That's a Mishnah. So the Gemara Amar Rabbi Yochanan that the Talis Safik of Tumah Rishus HaRabim halacha ve'medim came. It's halacha, but we don't tell the Rabbim about it because they shouldn't be mizalzel in the laws of Tumah. And that was, this is where Yosef ben Yehoshua argued. Yosef ben Yehoshua said, no, you can tell the Rabbim about it, and they should know it's mutar l'chatchila. That's why they called Yosef Amata, because they didn't want that it should become public, that Safik Tumah Rishus HaRabim is Tahir, because it will lead them to sin. And Yosef ben Yehoshua didn't feel that way, and he told the public about it. Tanya Nami Hachmi Lint Nabraisa, similarly, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, Koireis Nasan Lahem. Yosef ben Yehoshua put in beams between the Rishus HaRabim and the Rishus HaYachid. Ad kan Rishus HaRabim. With these beams, he said, till here's the Rishus HaRabim, Ad kan Rishus HaYachid, until here's the Rishus HaYachid. So the Braisa teaches us that Yosef ben Yehoshua specified the boundaries between the Rishus HaRabim and the Rishus HaYachid, so they should recognize where Safik Tumah is going to be Tahir and where it's going to be Tameh. So he had no problem publicizing it. Yosle Kame, the Rabbi Yanai, when they came before Rabbi Yanai, people had a shaila about Safik Tumei B'Shus Rabim, Amlahu. So Rabbi Yanai says, why put yourself into Sveikis? Hamaya B'Shikirasa the Benada. In front of you, there's enough water, deep water in the river. Zilo Tveilah, go and be Tveilah yourself from the Tumas Vadai. What do you have to make yourself problems? So even though everybody was made of that Safik Tumei B'Shus Rabim is Tahir, according to the Heda of Yosef ben Yehuda, he said, he let everyone know that it's Tahir. Nevertheless, if somebody would ask Rabbi Yanai about Safik Tumei B'Shus Rabim, he would paskin lifnim shusadim to be mevatel the tumas vadei. Okay, Zak the Gemara B'Hashlaka is those ma'achom that the goyim cooked. From what do we know from the pasuk? Bishul akum is asun b'achila. It says in the pasuk by the bakosha of the Bnei Yisrael from the Sich and the king of Amedi to let them go through their land. Sell us your food for money. And I will eat. And water, he says, again, provide me with food for money. And I shall eat, and you will give me water for money that I should drink. Kamayim, so the comparison of food and water in this pasuk teaches that only food they offered to buy and eat was like the water. Just like the water that they buy don't change from its original state. So too, we're talking about food that they would buy to eat was only such that would not change from its original state. When they gave it to wheat kernels of a goyim that were made into granola or parched grain, is it also so that they were? Is it also going to be aser? And if you're going to say taka that it's going to be asur, is that chitim asan kloyes wheat of that the goyim made into granola mutarim is mutar to eat. And so how do you say that's the marker for isa bishuli ayvet kechavim? If kloyes were also ruyis to become aser, says Gemara Ella, only this is how you have to dash in the pasuk kamayim. Mayim, just like water that they wanted to buy, has not changed from the way it was created. So too the food has to be that wasn't changed from the form that it was created. Okay. So the granola, the parched kernels are permitted, even though they changed, but not transformed into something differently. It's still the same. So the Gemara only now. What about the kernels that the goyim grinded? Are they going to be forbidden because it's not like water? It was changed from its natural form. And if you can say, yeah, it's going to be also. And that they made granola, and the flour and the fine flour, mutarim are permitted. Mutar. So you see, even food that's not similar to water are still going to be tahir. Zak Gemara Ella kamayim. What do we mean kamayim? It means just like the water is not changed from its form, which is through fire, meaning even if you heat it up, so too, food that they want to buy, it did not change from its from the way it was created, or through the fire. Meaning, even though the kernels were grinded, remain mutter because their form, although changed, the form changed, but it was not changed through fire. So too, granola is going to be mutter because the fire, though it changed them, did not change their form. Sagt jemand, mit the Urksiv, is it then written in the Torah, in the pasuk fire? It doesn't say the word fire. Rather, the food of goyim is forbidden only with the rabbanon. Ukras macht me alma, and the pasuk that Abchia brought is just an asmachta support for this Gzeri Rabbanon.